Welcome back yet again. Kentucky X-Files fans, appreciate you. And I know I said it Monday, but I know you're getting sick of these. You're ready for that season 3 to start, and so am I. But we took the month off, we got to relax. We got to get our beauty sleep. It takes a lot, So this episode is, season 1, episode 36, The Battle Within. And it is, honestly, this one, when we talk about it now, it's not so bad, but when we were there, I'm sitting there watching and listening, one of my oldest friends tell me about the greatest battle of his life and how something just crazy out of the ordinary happened while he was battling an alcohol addiction. And it turned into this much bigger thing, this more complex story. You could say, well, it's delirium tremens, it's people hallucinate, all kinds of things happen. Yeah, it happens. But I mean, the details and the things that happened in the story, it was like he was face to face with the devil himself, So how could we not have that on the Kentucky X-Files? How could we not tell a story? You know what I mean? And that's what he wanted. He wanted to share the story to hopefully help others. And I thought, man, this is really awesome, to go through this much just torture and still come out with a mindset that, hey, you know what? If this helps somebody else, then it was worth happening. It was worth going through. So I'm just really glad that we got to be a little part of that. And, we did. We ended up getting him in touch with a couple people who were battling the addiction. And the last I heard, he was talking to them and trying to help them out. So, I mean, what do they say? If you can reach one person, then you did it. So I'm happy with that. I can live with it, and anybody else, on this episode, like the other one, we will have links to places that you can get help if you are hooked on something. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what. Addiction is addiction. So, reach out for help if you need it. And without further ado, here's the episode.
Welcome to the Kentucky X-Files, Season 2, with your hosts Dennis Mays, Tyler Stewart, and Josh Gibbs. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, so you never miss an episode. Now, on to our show.
Welcome back, guys, to the Kentucky X-Files. Today we got a big one for you. This one is a story that probably will send chills down your spine even if you don't believe it. Like, if you don't believe in this stuff. So, well, we got another friend of Denny here, Eric.
I consider you probably the oldest friend that I have.
Yeah.
That I can remember having. Yeah.
Right.
Or maybe you were just such a good friend that all those other ones before you didn't matter anymore.
Right.
I can't remember who my friends were in grade school.
Yeah.
But middle school, I met Eric in music class, and I don't know, we just started
class too.
Yeah, math class. We started goofing off together, and then
trying to kill the teacher with our words.
Yeah. Got separated lots.
Yeah. We weren't allowed to be in classes with each other.
They literally changed our schedules so we were not in the same class ever.
We would see each other only by being sent out in front of the principal's office at the same time.
Hey, yeah.
Maybe sometimes premeditated.
Mm-hmm. So, old friend, and he's got a tale to tell, which we're going to listen to, which I'm hoping it strikes a lot of chords out there for you guys listening, and maybe this will help you. And if you struggle with this, and I do believe that addiction is at the heart of this one, am I right?
For sure, yep.
Okay, so if you guys, anybody out there, you're struggling with any kind of addiction and you need help, I will put every link that I can find for you out there, and you can always reach out to us at any time for anything. And the one other thing I wanted to bring up before we get into this is on my way over here I found a quote that I really liked, and two parts. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to challenge you afterwards. So here's what I'm going to say. Say what you will to the forces that govern the universe. Perhaps we'll call it into being, and it will yet love us as we love it. And I think that one will strike a chord.
For sure.
The other part is I want you guys out there to find out where that came from, and if you do, send me an email, and if you're the right answer, we're going to get you on the phone, and you can be our fourth host one night. How's that sound?
Is it going to be the first person that gets the right answer?
Oh, man, I didn't think
Or the second, or the seventh?
Oh, geez. I don't know.
I mean,
We will just put them all in a hat. And so, yeah, if you find out, you figure it out, let us know. We'll take it from there and get you on here to talk and experience. But I don't want to clog us up. I got emails and stuff for the show, but I honestly, let's hold them off till the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to dive into Eric's. What happened to you?
Okay.
Oh, before I was thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I guess we'll just start from the problem and go from there. So when you're dealing with addiction, you don't view it as a problem, right? Because otherwise you probably wouldn't have got there to begin with. But I never thought of myself as a person that would become addicted to anything, you know, other than cigarettes, I guess.
No.
But I never even liked to drink until I realized that I could deal with my anxiety by drinking. So it was more of like, I probably could have at some point saw a doctor and got put on medicine or something along those lines and never had this whole story to tell. With that being said, it's like the best thing that's ever happened to me. So, I mean, other than kids and things of that nature. So but that was, you know, what did I do to my kids? I don't even, you know, maybe help them to know what it's like to go through the shit and hell of addiction. I'm hoping that my mistakes and regrets would benefit them. I tell them all the time that if my regrets and the things that I just could take back, you know, if they're not something to be learned from,
No.
then what good are they? And so, with that, are they really regrets? I mean, are they really things that you would take back? But I can save you a lot of fucking time if you just take my shit,
Yeah.
my story, and just be like, okay, yeah, I don't have to go that route. So that's the positive side to addiction, is that if you get through the shit, it's just like anything, it's an experience, and then you can learn from it. So the first time that I really realized that I had to stop what I'm doing to myself, and I'm talking about alcohol. I mean, I've never even seen like heroin or anything like that.
No.
And I probably did a little bit of coke and things like that, but that's about the extent. Ecstasy, that was good, and that was fun, but nothing grabbed me like alcohol did.
No.
So one day I'm at work, and I'm having to drink so that I can get through the day. And the crazy thing is it was a driving job. So like, that's like the worst thing you can possibly do. And I don't even know how I got through all the days that I did. But this particular day, I was about to go on vacation. And my vacation was going to be for a week, and I was going to take my kids camping. And I was all excited about that. And but you know, I had nothing set up or planned because I spent any of my free time just keeping a slight buzz throughout the day until 9 o'clock, and then I just put myself to sleep.
No.
And with just drinking hard. So, you know, it was a functional alcoholic, you know, but that only goes so far until your body's just like, yeah, you're shutting down all your organs or something. I don't know. Your mind's taking it in, realizing that you're going to, it's just, first you're trying to fix yourself, and then you're destroying yourself. So
Absolutely.
it's a hard line to, it's just you're dancing on a line of like good and bad, which is ultimately what it all came down to. You know, your heaven and hell situation is where I found myself at the end of the story. So this day I'm at work, and I couldn't tell you what happened between a certain set of maybe 2 hours or something. I just remember coming out of this building, and I had a guy, an escort, with me into these properties, and I remember saying to him, like, "Is this it?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was surprised. I was shocked because I'm like, wait a minute, I don't even remember what just happened. And so I'm imagining, I guess, what happened, and I never found out because this dude wouldn't answer my calls. He just wanted to be, he had nothing to do with it because he probably ratted me out and thought that my calls were, you know, coming at him and like, you know, vengeance. But I just wanted to know what happened. So
you literally lost time?
I lost time, just gone. Like, I don't even know. And I guess I woke up, and he determined that I was good to go. And I said, yeah, I'm going to go on vacation now. It was like, you know, it was a Friday. And I'm going to, you know, get my camping stuff together. I'm going to go camping. I was all excited, and I get home, and I realized, like, oh, man, like, I'm completely just out of control. This is controlling me. There's no way that I can get in a car, take my kids to the campground, start a fire, be around a fire, be with my kids, and not be just passed out. Like, there was just no way that I could do this. And my kids were all looking forward to it and everything. And I was like, felt like complete shit because I'm basically strapped down to my house, only being able to maintain not getting sick by drinking, or I just felt weak as fuck. I don't know. I was just felt so shitty. So I just said, you know what, this is it. And I'm on vacation. I'm going to take this week, and I'm just going to not drink anymore. And so I knew, because I've done this before, just to try to stop, I knew it was going to be terrible. And but I had something in was telling me, like, this is going to be the worst thing you've ever done, more than the other times. Like, I was in it deep and hard. That sounded deep in it, yeah. All right, so I'm it's got me, and I gotta. It's hard to just make that decision. You're like, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna just quit.
Feeling of dread.
Yeah. And I know that if I drink, it's just going to restart the whole thing all over again. So I know that there's just, you have to make that decision finally, and it's definitely a hard thing to do. So I start detoxing, and it's, you know, go through a whole week, and it's basically just being sick. You know, your heart rate's going through the roof, your skin's crawling, you're in complete misery, right? And you feel like, you know, it's worse than the flu. It's worse than, I can't imagine anything that it's worse than. I mean, I'd probably put it up to, like...
Josh, you went through something very similar, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's identical. The only thing I could keep down was soup.
Yeah.
Middle of the summertime, freezing to death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, cool. Well, then, you know, you know that it's, you have to try to get your mind off of what's going on. So, I mean, basically, what I came up with was throughout all of my trial and errors with having been in the situation was like, I need to feel something different. And the only thing that I could come up with was to turn the shower on, get in there, and just hot as it could possibly be, and then switch to cold as it could be. I mean, I would do this all night long, and I was at this time, I'm living in a condo, so there's a guy below me that in the bathrooms were like, I guess the insulation or whatever that separated the bathrooms was like just not there. So you could, it was the worst place that they could not soundproof or whatever, because I mean, you could hear the dude downstairs going through a hard shit if he was doing that, you know what I mean? So it was like, so he's, for a week, he's hearing basically me throwing up in the bathroom, and if the downstairs matched, you know, the layout, which I'm pretty sure it did, it was the bathroom inside of the bedroom. So he's in bed, he could hear me upstairs puking, turning the shower on at all hours of the night. And at this time, my wife, she's sleeping in the other room with our daughter, because I just didn't want anybody near me, right? I mean, the door from the outside looking in, like my whole family's out here in this one floor living space, right? We're in a condo, so they're out there in the living room, and they're just, all they see from me is a door that's shut, and they just know that I'm in there like going through hell. I mean, and I don't know for sure if my kids were completely aware. It was usually like, hey, Dad's sick, you know, and it was, and I mean, I even thought that a lot of times because I was in denial, like, oh yeah, I got a stomach bug. Well, this time I knew, like, I'm doing this for sure, you know, and I'm not just, I'm putting myself in this position.
It's amazing too that kids will say that, but it's amazing how accurate they are.
Oh, they know. You
know, Dad's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really is. You know?
Right.
They're so to the point and don't even realize it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, they just probably, I don't know, depending on I have a lot of kids, so depending on the age group, I mean, I have 7, so it's not like I have like 20 kids, so or anything like that, but 7 is a lot in a condo. And they're just like, oh, Dad's in there. And they know I'm probably sick from drinking, but they don't, who wants to think about that, about your dad? So you kind of maybe are in denial too. Your whole family's in denial because you are. So they're trying to like, he knows what he's talking about. Anyway, I'm going through this shit, and this dude downstairs has got to hear me puking. He hears me turning the shower on. And I'm doing this all night, off and on for, like I said, a week. And I get through it to the point where I'm not getting sick anymore. But then that's when the real shit starts, right? Like, I don't feel like I'm crawling out of my skin anymore. That's kind of subsided. The addiction is starting to no longer be a physical addiction. It's switching from my body to my mind.
Yeah.
And that's like when the hallucinations and just weird trippy shit starts. I think the first hallucination was not even a visual one, it was sound. And this is super weird, but my week is almost up, and I know I gotta get back to work, so I'm kind of like starting to get some anxiety, like I can't keep this shit going, I gotta be back at work. So there's anxiety there from that. Right to this point, I know I can't sit in a car. And when you're switching from being a drunk to being sober, you feel drunk now that you're sober because everything's new again, like you're getting your feelings and senses back. And I see why I kind of blanked on that. So the sound hallucination, I kept hearing a couple, it sounded like girls, and they were out in the porch below me, and the dude that was below was a single dude, maybe had a daughter that would stop by every once in a while, but she certainly wouldn't have had a friend over or anything. So I'm like, hearing 2 girls and a vibrator is just like loud. I'm like, wow, this is You know, I mean, I was actually kind of getting excited as I'm sitting there in misery. Like, I can hear these girls, they're like giggling and shit, and they got a vibrator kicking. It's like, and I can, for some reason, I could hear a vibrator just through the walls. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? But then it got to the point where every time I close my eyes, you know, your body jerks, you can't sleep. I mean, I haven't slept in a week at this point, which is probably part of why the hallucinations start. Your mind's just deprived of
Sleep cycles.
nutrients, sleep, and your body's wigging out. I mean, people die from doing what I'm doing, so I don't recommend it.
Delirium tremens is no joke.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
And yeah, so I mean, for me though, it was like, if I didn't make this hard on myself, then there's a good chance I would just get through this and go back to it. So I'm like, this is the only way to do it. You're going to remember how much this sucks, and you're going to remember it so much that you don't want to go back to this place again. So that was my thought there. But it's like I said, I don't recommend it at all, because I don't know how the fuck I'm alive, honestly, because it just keeps going and getting crazier from this point. So it starts with my ears. I'm hearing this vibrator, and that was just a weird thing. And I even came out like, does anybody hear vibrating? Like, right. And I'm like, I'm sorry if you hear this, son, but I was like, do one of my kids in his fucking room with a vibrator? Like, I was like, really, I was convinced that. I'm like, look, I even try to rationalize with him. I'm like, okay, I need you to tell me that you have a vibrator, in your room, because
at that point it would be the best scenario.
Yes, yeah, because then I could just all right, so he's doing his thing. I'm gonna go to sleep now, because I'm not going crazy. And that wasn't, obviously wasn't the case. He didn't have a vibrator, and it was just all these, my mind trying to keep me, to try to make me drink, try to make myself go to sleep. My brain was telling me, I need sleep. I need you to sleep. And if you drink, you will go to sleep. And
it'll make things quiet.
Yeah. And this is like a subconscious, it's like it's telling you it's trying to find any way that it can to feed the addiction or maybe your body or your mind. It says, do whatever it is that will make all these other things stop.
Right.
And it wants what it wants. So, all right, I just basically touched on this beginning stage of the addiction and the hallucinations with this hearing things. And speed forward, I go back to work, and I go through a day. I feel great, and I was all worried about being able to get through a day, and I felt really weird. It was like time was super slow. Everything was kind of like too bright, too loud. My senses were completely heightened, and then I'm going through my day, doing my job, and I keep hearing this weird, like, audible jingle, like almost from like a video game. And like I've gone to so many different places, like miles apart, that it couldn't have been anything other than inside my head. And so I'm trying my hardest to ignore this and get through the day. And this is a week of.
So it was like music you were hearing?
Yeah. It started out with like just a little jingle, right? And,
so your hallucinations started a week after you started the detox. So
right.
That's weird, because like when I detoxed, my hallucinations were almost immediately.
Yeah.
It was like now.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was a super, super, super heavy drinker for a long time. I was a drunk. Mm-hmm. I was 5/5 of whiskey a week, and then some beer on top of it. Thankfully, because I do enjoy wine and stuff now, I've been able to control all that, and I don't go back to that dark place anymore. But at one point in time, I'd actually drink myself into pleurisy. And if you don't know what that is,
I remember that.
That's when the fluid inside your lungs.
I came to see you at the hospital.
Don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And every time you take an inhale, it's the front and back lining of your lungs peeling apart.
Okay.
The nurse told me it was the equivalent of giving birth to twins, as far as the pain went with it. But all of my hallucinations were in that first week, like the first 2 or 3 days of detoxing from the alcohol. So it's really,
Was it audible, like what he's saying? Was it?
it wasn't, mine was like stuff out of the corner of my eye climbing up the wall.
Yeah.
It was almost like train spotting,
Right.
you know?
I mean, yeah, I guess looking back at that, you know, there was the edges would start to slide to the right or left.
Yeah.
You know, there was that, but
And
I knew that my eyes hadn't closed for a week, so I'm like,
Right.
that didn't bother me. You're like, okay, this edge is creeping over this way. Something kind of went up the wall, like it startled me. Like,
Yeah.
that's I could place that with
yeah.
you're fucking tired, you
see,
know.
and instead of doing what he did with the shower, what I did to try to keep myself focused, to try to wear myself out to go to sleep, is I wrote.
Yeah,
I bought a notebook and a pen, and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, and it would get to the point that it was like in the butterfly effect, where the pages start twisting and the
Yeah.
words start spinning, and that's the kind of stuff that would happen to me. And I would just lay back, try to close my eyes, and try to ignore the stuff climbing the walls.
yeah.
But again, that was in the first week that I experienced it. So
Right.
your hallucinations started way after, which is the alcohol should have been gone from your system at that point. So I'm really intrigued by it.
Yeah. So I mean, you're talking about. There was days where I would pull out the bottle, out of my hiding spot, right, and I'd look at the bottle in the light to see how much I had, before the next day. Well, that's how the other times I got through getting sick. Is like, okay, just take a little bit of drink, and I mean that was the very beginning of that. Was just taking sips to, but I knew I couldn't do that this time, So, and I still actually have a bottle that I keep of the last liquor I bought. Like, I don't know, it's like a trophy or something. I don't know, but
Right.
So it was weird. I mean, because I know what you're talking about. Other times that I've tried to quit drinking, each time's different, you know, and but they all suck. So that was for sure going to happen. So I didn't expect it to go beyond this week. I'm back at work. I've done this before. I'm like, I should be good to go. Well, it's a Friday. I think I came back on work on a Thursday, and so I just had to come back for one day, and that was what I thought would be beneficial, because I have the weekend to continue a little bit of
Test the waters at work, and then take a little breather, and then
and so that I can't say that with all of my pushing myself to get through this, that when you're on your way home from work and you're drunk, the first thing you're like, it's the weekend, I am going to get fucked up. And that was crossing my mind, and I was thinking about it. I was thinking about I was like, if I just stick with beer, right, like alcoholics will do, is like, as long as I don't go, and it was true, but eventually those beers aren't enough, and if you don't have enough money, you got to go with the alcohol,
so
the liquor.
Bargaining.
I was just thinking about it on my drive home, and then this. Can we talk about specific? Musicians, I guess, like Andrew C. WK. I don't even know
At
who
this
he
point,
is.
if anybody sues us, it'll make us more famous.
Well, so it was Andrew
CK.
Yeah. Is it? Or WK?
It's WK.
WK. Yeah.
WK.
Well, anyway, so I play that song, right? Throw it in here real quick. I don't know if you can just put a snippet in or something.
I think we can do 2 or 3 seconds.
Right. So everybody knows the Party Hard song, but if you don't know it, if you heard it, you would. So that song's playing as they would play on EBN, I guess, every Friday. And it just played for I caught the end of it. And that was, becomes very weird, because I get home, I'm piecing together, my day and all these sounds that I'm hearing, and I get in the shower after work, and then it just starts getting crazy from here. This song that I don't know really, I've heard it, I don't know the words, but it's playing from somewhere, and I'm in the shower, and it sounds like it's coming from behind the toilet, and it's loud. I can make out each note, I can make out the vocals, and I'm convinced that the dude downstairs is fucking with me. He's went through a week of listening to me go through hell. He's playing his Party Hard song, and he's just putting it on a loop, and maybe he's left but he's just fucking with me. Because if you was listening to the lyrics, I'm picking them up, like certain things, like kind of like it's like he's making fun of me or something. And then I'm like, okay, well, I finish my shower, and I'm like, this is weird. So I get out, and now it's in the living room, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so it sounds like I'm like pinpointing it's coming out of the outlets. I'm like trying to think, well, that makes sense. It's like maybe it's climbing up through the walls, up the electrical, or maybe he's got speakers all over his, like, it's been a week of listening to me puke and shit. This dude's like, coming at me hard. So I'm imagining this dude's downstairs, and he's like just conspiring to mess with my life.
He's got the bat cave of speakers everywhere.
Yeah. And that's what I'm seeing. So now this dude is a drinker too. He's, and I know this because I would always see him at the bar at the bottom of my street. So before, I accept that I'm hallucinating, I'm like, I'm just gonna go down to this bar and see this dude. So I drive down there, and I'm like, dude, like, you gotta level with me. Are you fucking with me? Like, I come up to him and ask me, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, I just know that I went through a week of withdrawals, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'm sure that was probably horrible to listen to for a week. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I know what I was talking about. Like, he definitely did, but he basically convinced me, like, no, I'm not fucking with you. And at that point, I knew, like, this is gonna be getting interesting. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine that would have been a fucking crazy feeling. Like, okay,
this is coming from my head. So I get back home, and I'm like, all right, this is coming from my head. All right, so let's test this. So I start writing down the words, right, of what I'm hearing, and I don't know the song.
Right.
And I write them down, and like I'm saying, this is playing on a loop. So I get the whole song written down, the lyrics, and I think I have a paper of this somewhere. And I was writing. I would write a lot too to distract myself. So I had all this other shit that I was writing, and it's all in this book, and I wish I could have found it, but before I came over. So I write this lyrics down, and then I get on YouTube and I play it, and I get the lyric version, and I'm like, they're like identical. I'm like,
so somehow you had the song
in my head.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, what the hell? So I'm like, now it's not this dude from downstairs messing with me. It's the voices in my head, which, some people might attribute to God, right?
Okay.
Is like coming at me like he's making fun of me. That's what's happening. Somebody's tapped into my subconscious, something, and it's like, you were thinking about drinking after all that, and like, and this is party hard. You're, I'm making fun of you, and like, and it was weird because in my mind, that's kind of like I don't know, that song's, I just don't like the dude, I don't know, it's just it's not my favorite song, it's just cheesy in my mind. So I was like, kind of like it was a joke, like, and so like I'm starting to develop this idea that I have a God that is not nice. He's making fun of me,
right?
And then this begins of communication between a higher power, right? And it started with the song, and then it's the night progresses. It's voices. It's me talking, right? And I'm just talking to myself. I'm walking around just talking to myself, and but it's coming into my head, and then it's out my mouth, and I couldn't stop it. From it. I try because I just want to sleep, and I'm pacing around, and my wife is starting to get concerned. She's like, you need to go to a hospital. She's a nurse, and she's like, this is, you could. I'm afraid you're gonna hurt the baby. At that time we had a baby, and I was like, that's a horrible thing. Like, I have something tapping into controlling me. Maybe she's right. So I'm staying away. I don't want to leave the comfortability of my house to deal with this shit. I want to stay in the security of my home, because this is terrifying at this point. And it seems like kind of little, like it's just all you're hearing is a song, but that will drive you nuts when it's going over and over and over. Yeah. And the only thing you can stop it is by talking over it. And it was like the connection that was tapped into me couldn't say the words and then also play the song. So anytime I would stop letting these words come out of my mouth, this song would continue to play. Like it was like torture.
What was the words?
The Andrew C.K. stuff, and it was the song, right? And the words were just me rationalizing things. It was like, well, this is why this person, this is how they think of you. This is how it was just. It was perceptions of myself, not necessarily now, but if I continued. So it was like, if I continued the path that I was on, these are what the people would think of me, or do think of me. Like if I was like a town drunk to the point where I'm yellow, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, my liver's shutting down, but I refuse to stop. I don't have a place to live. I'm like this guy that just wanders around that everybody used to know is this person that, it was their friend, but now this guy is just controlled by alcohol. Like it was perceptions for the future.
Yeah.
So it was, and it just couldn't stop. So, it's gotten dark now, and that's always the scariest part when you're dealing with addiction with alcohol, is that now you don't have, you might have some alcohol, but you certainly don't have enough, and you couldn't get more if you needed it because everything's closed. So then that heightens everything up. And I remember finally getting like a minute of rest before I started losing my complete shit. And that was I kind of wake up for a second, or I fell asleep for a second, and I wake up, and it's just loud, all this chatter, I can't even make it out, and but it's like my mouth is moving while I'm doing it, and as if it was saying all these different things. So now there's a second, like an entity to this, and it's like two voices going on, and like I keep seeing this. It's like behind my eyes, this flip. It keeps flipping. It would flip from like a good to evil. Now, when I say good, it was good in the sense that it had my interest at heart, but it wasn't being nice. It had my best interest. It was like, I'm gonna, and then the bad side was just like, it was hard to distinguish between the two, because, when some things, it has your best interest at heart, but it's putting a message out there that like, you're a piece of shit. Right. It's like, well, but then the bad side is just being straightforward without any kind of ulterior motive. It was like, you kind of start, I don't know. I started leaning towards this other straightforward voice that was just telling me, like, just fucking kill yourself, right?
Wow.
Yeah, like you're gonna end up drinking again, so just kill yourself. So I'm like, all right, I don't know how to go about that. And then I'm thinking about this thought, and this other voice that has my interest the hardest, continuing to just go through all these perceptions that people have of me from the future, that are in the future, and I'm like, I just got to get out. I got to go. My wife's brought up the fact that I might hurt the baby or something weird like that, and so everybody's sleeping. I just start getting my shit together to like never come back home. And I'm ready to leave. I got my phone sitting there. I have nothing on me at all. And so I'm like, well, I can't just leave. I got to say bye. And my son, for whatever reason, was in my son was, at the time, was my youngest son. And he was in my bed. I guess he was hanging out with me, and he fell asleep. But he's sleeping, and I'm telling him bye, and we're communicating like telepathically. His mouth's moving, and I'm like, you are the closest to God. I'm telling him, like, I need you to take care of your brothers, because when they find out that I'm no longer here, you're their younger brother, but you're gonna be their support system and things like that. And he's like, agreeing, like, I don't want you to go. And the weird thing about all this is, like, I talked to my son about that, and he remembers it vividly, but is like the idea of the conversation. And anyway, I go into the other room, and my other boys are there, and it's kind of the same thing. Everybody's sleeping, but I'm like having conversations with them. And then I walk out the door. I live off the AA highway, which I thought was funny in hindsight. It's like AA. And I'm walking up the highway, and I don't know where I'm going, but I felt like I was being controlled through my thoughts, through my movement. So I'm like, something's taking me somewhere. So I'm walking, and I know that the idea, right, was to just end this shit. So I'm like, well, I'm on the highway, and there's these trucks that just keep blowing by. I'm like, okay, well, then there's the answer to that. So now I'm walking, and I'm trying to get the courage to just run in front of one of these trucks. That takes a while, like your truck just, like, damn it, that was my chance. And I'm trying to psych myself up, next one. Well, anyway, I get to the point where I guess at some point, right, the trucks, right, wherever they're coming from has closed. They're on the AA, so they're probably coming from some area within, where there would be a time in the night, early morning, where they just stop. There's less of them. So now I'm out of trucks, and I realize, and they're like, this voice is telling me, like, oh, you fucked up, you're out of trucks. There's not gonna be any more trucks. And I'm like, and then that was true. It was like there wasn't any more trucks, and I'm like, this is, this is me. I don't even know how much time is going through with this. So then I was like at a on-ramp, and my wife's work is up on the hill. And so I knew I wasn't that far away, because it's probably just a mile or two down the road. And I'm like, well, I'm out of truck, so I just got to do this with a car. So I just ran out right in front of this car, and I don't know how it hit me. I know it hit me. I felt like I was like putting my head down to just ram this car, head first. And I remember just picking up my flip-flops off the concrete, and my back felt like jello. And I was laying, I was laying there first before I picked up my flip-flops, when I felt like I couldn't move. But then, it was like the voices in my head were like, get up, you can't be here. Your family's going to find you here, and you don't deserve that. And so I able to get up. Now, meanwhile, I see the tail lights of this car for like a second, and it just peels out left. Like I would too. Some dude just like deliberately ran in front of the car, and they were probably drinking at this point, so they're like, that's on him. Right. So that car took out, and so I wish I had that person would. I kind of do wish that person would stop, because that's one part of this story that's it's weird. Like, they're like, they're physically, how am I here? If I went head first into a car, like I should have had broken something or other, right? Right. And like I said, I was laying on the ground, and I felt like my back was broke. And but like I said, the voice was like, get the fuck up. You don't deserve to die where your family can find you. So I have to crawl pick myself up, grab my flip-flops. Why? I don't know why I needed them, but get them back on. I figure I guess I have to walk through these woods on the side of the road. I needed them. So my back just, it feels like I'm like kind of like hanging to the side or something, and dragging myself. I wasn't even like I was doing it under my own power, really. And so I started crawling into these woods, and I guess all the light that was there would be the moonlight. So could have been a full moon. I don't know. It was definitely a clear night with the moonlight kind of penetrating through the woods. And I find a spot that I'm sitting there, and now this voice presents itself in an image, and it's this dark blob that has a spinning head, and the voices just kept corresponding with the face. So there's this, I don't know, I mean, it was like, it was almost faceless, because maybe light and then dark. I mean, it had this, I think the image that I was giving the face was, it was me controlling that, it had to be. This is like I'm hallucinating is what I'm thinking. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's telling me like it was before, but now it stops coming out of my mouth, and I can see it, and it's talking to me.
So you're face to face with it now.
I'm face to face with, like, it felt like if you had cancer or something, and they removed it from you, and it was like you're like face to face with it. Like, it felt like that, like it came out of me, which was really fucked up, because it would kind of made me nauseous looking at it. And regardless of whether it was the good side or the bad side or whatever, but and then I don't even remember which side was telling me this, but it was like smell your shirt, and I smell my shirt, and it's just like this nasty smell. He's like, and it was like, well, there's your future. This is how you smell to people, because your liver's rotting inside of you, and it's like, I'm like, what the fuck? And now that's all I can smell is just like rotting liver. All right. And so now I'm hallucinating through my senses, smell, like sight, ears. And I'm like, still like, this is just the worst withdrawal ever.
I mean, okay, I respect what you're saying.
Right.
And to put yourself out here to tell this is, it's immeasurable.
Yeah.
What kind of guts it takes to just say all this. I mean, at what point could we let go of the hallucination and entertain the idea that something interjected into your life right at this point? I mean, what I'm hearing sounds so far beyond hallucination. I mean, I can see withdrawals. I mean, man, I can't even have a normal day without smoking and caffeine. So I can't even imagine the amount of what it takes for you to deal with, an alcohol addiction. But I still can't help but wonder. I mean, you got a week, and then a day back at work, and then it just starts over. But this time it's like it just came at you so much harder.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, when I hear the story, running into a car, getting hit, and I know you.
Yeah.
So I know that this happened.
Yeah.
I don't have a doubt in my mind anything,
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, your word is solid gold with me, and you should know that.
Yeah.
We have a long history. But to me, when I think of the old Eric that I knew, all I can think of is, to me, it wouldn't have been like, the Eric I knew wasn't trying to kill himself.
No.
He was trying to kill whatever this is.
Yeah.
Because I can never imagine you losing to anything.
No,
I couldn't imagine it. If something, I mean, your family's basically on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Your well-being is on the line, and your sanity's on the line.
Yeah.
And I've never known you to back down from anything. So all I could think of when I'm hearing this, and like I said, I'm not trying to alter your narrative, anything like that.
Sure.
But to me, it just sounds like the old Eric was literally saying, like, all right, motherfucker, you know, I'm going to take you out with me then.
Or,
you know,
yeah.
or I'm taking you out.
Right.
You know, fuck you.
Right. And that's I haven't come to this realization yet that you're talking about. You know, I'm still trying to understand it, right? Because, I mean, to me, I'm rationalizing it. This is not happening, right? And then it almost wasn't. It was like I didn't have control. So I mean, it was all very, very weird. You know, I mean, it's like I couldn't.
Did it feel like you were experiencing it in first person or maybe third person?
Every different perspective, man. It was. I mean, I was looking at it from every angle I possibly could. It was. I'm realizing, you know, in this moment, this time right now, like when I'm not as I'm talking, but in this situation where this head's spinning and I just got hit by a car, my back feels like a jelly, and then I'm basically where are we getting at? What's the point here? And basically it was a decision. It's like, all right, you can decide that you're going to burn in hell for all eternity, which is what I was taught as a kid. So that's what it was. Basically, hell is fire and heaven's nice, and, you know. And so that's what I'm thinking is about to happen. And this, the I guess we'll call it the devil, was like, just come to me, right? I'll make sure your family's good. You're just going to have to go through this pain that you're feeling now, that you've been feeling for this week, and you're going to have to feel it for eternity, plus a little bit of ripping from the inside, burning flame, and you're just going to have to deal with that forever, okay? Come to terms with that, and this will be over. And then the God side is like, all you have to do is make the decision, and everything will be okay, but it might take a while. And I just wanted it to end at that point. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just go to hell, you know, and I will hold my family up from hell and take all this pain as long as they're good. They're probably better off without me. I came to that agreement. And so when I finally made that decision, it felt like that flipping head didn't flip anymore. And the figures from the flipping side, the images were the same, right? Yeah. And so I just agreed to myself, or to the one thing that creates us. It's one thing, and it's up to you on what way it is, good or bad. But the idea was good in one way, because I was willing to sacrifice myself forever to take all the pain on and just to give up for my family, as opposed to just possibly continuing on the path that I had by starting drinking again. So that's the last thought that I had before I finally just like fell backwards. And I remember my head hitting the, it wasn't a hard hit, but hitting them like the mud and dirt. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm just kind of like sinking into the Mother Nature. You know, the fact that there's spiders or anything wasn't even a concern. I'm just like, this is where my heart was supposed to stop, right? It was like, that was a part of the words that it was going to explode, and that was it. And so I was like, all right, let's go. I'm cool with it. And the next thing I know is I'm in the same like ravine. I don't know, what do you call the side of the road?
ditch or?
There's a word for it that I like, but I can't think of it right now. Anyway, I'm in a ditch. And then off that ditch is another ditch, and I'm at the bottom of this ditch, and it's like freshly cut grass when I wake up. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's daytime. And it's just, grass is just like perfect, like golf course grass.
So you were there for the night?
I was there for the night, yeah.
Wow.
And I wake up, and I'm like, this is not over. Yeah, because I can still feel this inside the addiction. I can still feel that tightness in my chest. I can feel like it's like claws. And I'm like, this is not over. So I'm like, I just start running. I don't know what day it is. I don't know how long I've been there. I just start running. And I'm like, I'm just going to run so hard that my heart just blows up. And that was my plan at that point. And then so I run all the way up to like around this embankment, and I'm on the highway, and I see my wife's work. And for whatever reason, I thought, well, she could be at work. So I go in there, and it's like a nursing home, and people recognize me, I'm sure, and that's probably how I got through the building. But I mean, I can't imagine that I looked very well. And I mean, I'm bleeding from various places. I look like I got hit by a car probably. and I find somebody. I ask for Melissa. So they call her, and she's calling me, but I don't have my phone, I guess. Right. And she's trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And so they're basically, I'm like, oh shit. I just realized, I just came in this place looking like this. She's not there at work yet. And she's probably not even supposed to be there that day. She's off. They're thinking I'm crazy, so I just bail. I get out of there, and I just start running again. Well, I get to just right back to the highway, the 27, and there's the cops. I'm like, shit. So they're asking me questions, and I'm trying to tell them what happened, trying to explain what I'm telling you right now, as fast as you can before, you're on the way to the loony bin or whatever, I'm just I don't know what happened. I know this sounds crazy, but some shit happened with God. I made a stupid mistake and went into this, old people's, I might realize that, but I just, I know
this looks like.
This is not what it looks like. And I told them, I'm detoxing, and some profound shit just happened to me. I was I kind of just want to figure out what this shit is and go about my day. We're yeah, that's not going to happen. So I'm all right, well then, what's happening? And then there comes the ambulance. And I'm in, so this ambulance, they're talking to me, and at no point did I really agree to go to the hospital, but now I'm in an ambulance on my way to the hospital. And everybody, they check me in, and they're talking to me, they're asking me all this, and the nurse is I'm trying to explain it to them, because I want someone to understand what I'm saying and be I just so bad that I can stop feeling I'm crazy. I needed someone to have pure faith in a higher power at that moment, and nobody fucking did.
Yeah.
They're you're just...
Right when you
hallucinated them. You're just hallucinating. So I came to the conclusion right there. I was everybody says they believe in something, and everybody says that they have a religion, which in my opinion is worst. It was the worst thing ever, is to attach it to some shit that was just a way to make money. I mean, that's my perspective. Yeah. I mean, it's what it is. It's good. Whatever is good for you is what you need to do. But for me, I need no ulterior motives. I just need this God and me, straight communication back and forth is what I'm wanting to know, that it exists, so that I don't feel crazy. And everybody's that's not happening. You there's no way you got hit by a car and got up again. You look like you got hit by a car,
yeah.
But there's no way that you could have got hit by a car and not have broken bones or anything like this. I mean, because I explained to him, where I ran into this car, and the speed that I would have been going at, there wouldn't have been, I would have had broken something,
Yeah.
So they're not believing that, and they're just, really, they just want to make my blood pressure go down and my heart rate to go down, and that's all that really matters to them. So maybe they may not, maybe they're just trying to have a little conversation with me as possible because they don't want to excite me in any way or change something. I don't know how it goes. I just know that all I wanted was someone to be like, yeah, God came into your life and saved you from dying from alcohol withdrawal, as many people do when they're not hospitalized. Like, that's what happened.
Right.
Okay, cool. I would have been fine.
Yeah.
But what bothered me most at that point now is that, like, what the fuck are we here for? If you can't truly believe in these things that you think you believe in, right?
Right. It sounds good on paper, but
right.
saying it out loud.
Yeah, like, okay, so you'll believe just enough that gets you through your shitty situations. Like, if I get through this day, I'll never do this again, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
And I made special points in my life never to ask God for anything, because I didn't believe that there was a God, and if there was, I never asked him for anything. So. Right. I never said, get me through this.
Yeah.
I never asked for any help. And I wasn't asking for help then. He came to me, and it came to me at this time.
I remember being young and me and you having discussions about God, and all that.
There's no chance.
Yeah, literally my own atheism coming up, I can literally say that just listening to your logical explanations of it helped me to go, okay, yeah, okay, well, maybe, yeah, it doesn't make sense. You're right. And I dove further into that from there.
Right.
Until, like I said, recently, over the last few years, something's kind of thrown that atheism, into the grinder a little bit, but that's why, to me, hearing this, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Because out of everybody, I mean, I know, Tyler, would you call yourself an atheist? I mean,
I guess I would say that. I do have some doubt. Like, I can't, I guess I do the cop-out thing. I was like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
So.
That's agnosticism.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like it could be, could not, maybe.
I just feel like I just don't, even if he is there, I don't care. Like he says, like, I don't ask for anything.
Yeah.
I don't need him. Like, kudos on you to creating this place if you are there, but I feel like you did your part, and I don't need you anymore.
Josh, what about you? I mean, would you consider yourself like a atheist, or?
Yeah, I would say so.
For the most part?
For the most part, yeah. I don't buy into the idea of gods at all. I can understand, like, the universe and nature, like we've talked in the past.
Yeah.
To me, that's more probable, plausible,
right.
Realistic for me. But that not to say that, weird things don't happen. It's.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, all I was trying to get around to is like to hear that, all of that, and these are conversations that come up often, about, whether these things are there or not. And then since the start of the show, I have a little trouble because I'm like, we just spent, 20 episodes looking into a possible relic hominid in North America. These folks have spent 2,000 years searching for a creator. I can't say anymore. I don't know, but to hear it from you is mind-blowing to me, because I'm like, something happened, because if it didn't, I don't think we'd be having this conversation.
No, I mean, no. And I tried to discredit the idea that there was a God involved in this.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be. I don't want to be wrong. Have been wrong all these years that I'm. When you said that I would. We would talk about it. Like, I hated the fact that people couldn't just do things for themselves and just be okay with the fact that you don't have to have a God and you can get through shit on your own, and you're just being weak because you're afraid of dying. Like, that was just like, just evolve and accept the fact that You just happened on your, and that was like that made the most sense to me, right?
Were you afraid of dying that night?
Absolutely. It's other points I was just like,
Yeah.
At some points I don't even want to, atheism, I just know what I felt, and there's times in your life where something might go wrong, and somehow you came out in the end, and you want to believe that somebody was looking out for you, a loved one that's passed away or whatever. But all I know up at this point is that I can digest the fact that the brain is powerful, and that ghosts and people who pass can be stuck in this realm. Like, that was the closest I got to having the idea that there's an afterlife, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, like, what was that, like, the whole third eye thing, too?
Yeah.
You said there were we
The
still had
pineal gland.
Yeah, the pineal gland. So there could have been that. Like, it's not that saying that you had hallucinations, but you did see something that was on another.
I didn't really
like,
think of that.
another
Well,
That
level.
angle, yeah.
Yeah, and that's 100% where I'm heading here, is that while all my senses are heightened now because I'm clear, there's this third eye that just is opened up, I mean, like, everything's heightened. I'm hearing things, right? I'm touched. I'm like, my senses are so heightened that I'm in touch with this other place where these things can come into my existence.
Yeah, it's not like heaven or hell or any of that. Like, it's just, like, I feel like I feel like that's something that we've talked about on this show a lot, is that there's something on the other side. It's not like, we're not saying that it's a god or anything, but there's something that could be in another dimension that's like literally right on the side of us.
The world next door.
Yeah, the world next door and stuff.
Yeah.
I will say this, okay. I wanted to get. I'm just gonna chalk this up because I did have like one of those little raps from fucking UDF, but the whole time he was telling the story, I started to get sick to my stomach, and I'm such a skeptic. I'm letting you know. I don't know why. I felt so drained.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
In a way, I felt like I was detoxing as I was listening to you. I can't say I was doing it as severely as you guys went through, but out of nowhere, I just started to feel so, like, drained and
Because of my
sick.
voice.
No. But, like, it was weird. I was just, like, for sitting there, I was like, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
getting
cool.
a little uneasy, but then after a while, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on?
See, I was feeling uneasy with it, but it's because I experienced it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
I
was
was wondering.
things
But
you were
I-
talking about that brought me right back to it. Like when you said when you laid down or fell backwards into the mud. I remember at one point when I was detoxing, laying there and feeling like I was sinking into the mattress, like the mattress was coming around me, and that's what I was picturing was you laying in the dirt and feeling the earth come up around you.
Yeah.
And it was giving me the willies because it was taking me back to when it happened to me,
Yeah. And in that moment, that's where I'm sinking into the dirt. That's where my bones were never going to be found. And I was happy about that to some degree, because my kids could at least be like, he couldn't get himself right, so he just left us so that we could just live our life.
And when it happened to me, it wasn't even just like the feeling of it wrapping around. It was a visual thing too. Like the ceiling was physically getting further and further away from me. Was it like with the trees and stuff getting further and further away from you?
Well, so once I laid back, I closed my eyes and I was waiting for my heart to stop, and then it just went black.
Yeah.
I mean, I do remember like what you're saying. Like I felt very, 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 very small.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was it was like zooming out. I felt like that was me leaving my body, or trying to,
Yeah.
and then it kept snapping back in like that. I don't know if anybody has ever detoxed. When you're just all you want to do is sleep, and you start falling asleep, you start falling into the sleep. It's something you do every night, right? When you take it for granted, right? But this was so, for that whole week, it was so difficult. As soon as you close your eyes, you start drifting in, and it's like it feels so amazing, and then you're jerked back out, and it's like so. I mean, sleep is very much like death in the sense that you'll slip away. Yeah. And we die every day almost, and so that's like what I was feeling, was that I just wanted to die. Like, associated with that, I just wanted to sleep. I just wanted to shut off. I just wanted to stop. And it wasn't like I really thought about, like, what is this going to do to the people around me, other than if I'm not a drunk anymore, that maybe they'll stop having to deal with seeing their dad, their husband, like, kill himself with, alcohol. And, like, it was so embarrassing, I guess, to me. So back to where was finally I'm at the hospital. I'm trying to and I'm coming to these decisions that this is third eye, like you're saying. This is like right about then where I'm like, okay, I don't need anybody else's approval of this shit. Like, I'm just going to take what I know and just wrap my mind around it. But then at the same time, I'm also like, there's the atheism, there's this. It's like just science, just your body's, and then this God idea. Like, okay, so if a person can exist in energy and be a ghost, then maybe there's something more to the word subconscious, right? Because this is where all this shit feels like it's coming from. In my it's like my dreams. It's like you don't. That's where your dreams come from. You're not thinking on your own. It's your subconscious. So what is it about subconscious? Like, obviously our brains are what make us different than other species, right? Animals, our brains are advanced. They've evolved to an extent that when we think we're up here on this pedestal, right? But how much don't we know? How much, once we tap into that, how much bigger can we be? Will we even need our bodies at that point? Is that what full evolution is? And then even beyond that, is there going to be more evolution? Like, so these are the beginnings of my idea of the third eye, subconscious. Just realizing that I'm this big, I'm nothing, I'm a grain of rice, I'm just here, but I'm here and I'm fucking happy about it. I made it through this shit, and I'm gonna change my life. And I've made, while I'm going through all this shit, I'm still in the hospital. They're trying to give me stuff to make me not feel like I'm feeling, and I'm just like, I don't want that. I gotta feel all of this. If I don't feel all of this, then my chances of being back here again, or for this reason, are gonna, it's gonna be a really good chance. I was like, that's not happening. So I'm still like really dealing with it all, but I'm not feeling like the physical. It's more of like a subconscious mind situation. You're just I don't know what to do with this.
I guess, like, in a way, like, the way you're making it sound is that you stepped into something and you got out of it, but something still of you is behind, so you can still feel it, but you're not feeling the intensity that you did that night, or the nights going through it. So you're still kind of peering into, I guess you would say, the veil, piercing in through the veil of stuff. Like, well, so you saying, like, you still hear stuff every once in a while?
No. I think what happened is that my mind became used to the absence of alcohol, so my senses started to level out, right? And so I was no longer tapped into it. And the crazy thing is that every once in a while, I'm like, if I I don't want to drink again because I'm escaping my anxiety or anything like that, like I used to. But I kind of want to be tapped back into that third eye again. You know, like I want to know what's inside there. Like, and so I try very.
Well,
often.
I've heard the third eye thing. Like, I think you discussed it a while back ago with it. Joe Rogan said something about that, like with mushrooms and psychedelics. Yeah. He thinks that eating those literally like shoots us through, like, to see these things that we can't see.
Oh yeah.
In the normal sense, like with that third eye. I mean, the pineal gland.
There was a theory that our ancient ancestors, little fellas up in the tree, might have gotten hold of some magic mushrooms, and that's what started all of our evolution.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, me personally, man, no, I can't help it. I can't help it. You know, I've always had kind of the, you know, the whatever you call the hopeless, like, romanticism of things, you know, and hearing the bigger lesson of the whole thing, and Inferno keeps coming to my mind, you know, Dante's descent into hell, you know, and that was you went into hell.
Yeah.
Here, you didn't have to go anywhere to get there. It was here. Yeah. It was right there beneath the surface, and going through your withdrawal, to me, it was, you know, like he said, you know, it opened up that door, and it let you go in a little bit, but it let something come out a little bit. And I hate to, you know, I hate to sound so sure, but my gut feeling is that you know, that night, I believe you were face to face with it, and I believe it was a battle of wills at that point.
It's been 3 years since I drank, and there's not a day that doesn't go by where I'm not, like, sitting in the woods in my head and just, like, thinking about that. Yeah. You know, like, it's not a day. It's like, so I mean, yeah, it's real. So if it wasn't, I wouldn't. You know, I mean, it would just be gone.
See, to me, I guess from my, this is one of the things I love about this podcast, is that we always have 3 different ideas of whatever's going on. And we may not agree, we may agree, but it's never anything negative. To me,
there's no unfriending on Facebook. Or
right. And if I may speculate wildly as I do.
Please.
To me, when I was listening to your story, it felt like it was you versus you. It was a yin and yang situation. Like the amorphous black blob that you saw, the stench that you smelled, that was bad you and good you communicating. It was, you know, it was basically a battle of yourself.
I feel like in a way it might have been something that the way you perceived yourself.
Exactly. So
you said you couldn't figure out the faces, but something like one was in your best interest, but the other, it might have been a distortion of your own face that you just couldn't.
Right.
This is what you like. You wanted the best interest for yourself, but then on the other hand, the path you were going down just kept going.
And that's why I asked if you were seeing it in first person or third person, because that's where everything was going in my head as I was listening to this was, maybe you were in third person, but when you're in third person, you feel like you're yourself anyways.
Yeah.
But you were seeing and hearing and experiencing the darkness and the lightness of yourself, basically battling through this.
100%. So what's cool about this is that as I was in those various perspectives, right, I'm you and I'm you. Your version of what you just said and your version, these are things that I've looked at it through those perspectives, and I still do every day. So that brings us back to the point of subconscious and the strength of it. Like somewhere, and if we tapped into that, we're all going to be on the same page, right? Because that's where it all is. Everything is inside this one perspective. Because it's just, it's hard to, I mean, like, I still am working it out all the time. And, like, you know, talking about it definitely helps. And, you know, I always take there's always a new take from it that's all, you know, that helps. There's no bad outcome to this, other than that I could have died, you know, not by running in front of a car or just by, you know, the medical effects of taking alcohol away from your body.
Yeah, delirium tremens can absolutely kill you.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, so given the whole circumstances of it, I'm truly glad that you're okay.
Yeah.
But would you change anything because of this experience? It seemed like it really gave you, no matter if you feel that it was a spiritual, supernatural, whatever, or hallucinations, but do you feel like everything that went down that path, do you feel like if it was changed in any way, do you think like you would fall back, or do you feel like this is what made you help you to stay on the path that you're going on?
Everything that's happened pretty much to me since then is like fallen into my lap.
Mm-hmm.
Like just amazing things. Things that I couldn't even imagine myself being at, had I continued to go back.
Mm-hmm.
It would just all fall apart. So that's the one kind of kicker where, you associate that like idea that somebody's looking out for you. There's a higher power, basically I'm like, or if I just keep tapping into this, it's like almost like a level, the bubble, where it veers to the right or veers to the left. If I just keep it right in the middle, that's my subconscious, and it might go right or left, depending on my day. But if I just keep it right in the middle, I'm like channeled in. And that channel that I'm into is like my subconscious. That's just me just doing what's best for me and living my life based on the idea that the ideas that I got from being in that experience.
Okay.
So if I were to
take those out of the equation,
then I don't know.
You don't know.
Right.
Yeah. I get that, because even if when people have something traumatic happen, it really changes them, because in the human condition, we do not change unless something bad is happening. Mm-hmm. Like check out all the alien movies. We will never come together as a globe or one being as human beings unless an alien attacks or something of that nature.
Yeah.
It's like we self-destruct no matter what. Everybody has those demons that they battle on a day-to-day basis.
I think self-destruction's key to our evolution. I mean, for Eric to be sitting here,
mm-hmm.
he had to destroy himself and survive it. My opinion, here's a wild thing I just thought of is, suppose there's a guy listening to this right now.
Yeah, hopefully.
And he's hearing the music coming from the walls.
That's what it's all about.
What would you say to him?
Go to the hospital. I feel obligated to say that.
Don't ride it out like you. I mean,
man, how close was I to my heart exploding? I don't know. It didn't.
Yeah.
But if I had this all figured out, how do I know that this particular individual is going to be able to keep his mind on this certain point to keep everything else from falling apart, and then his heart, I was fighting, is what it felt like. I was fighting every thought, and just, I remember I'm checking my pulse and just breathing and just trying to keep my heart from exploding to the point where until I was running to I just wanted to pop, so I don't know. It's
I would so do you feel like it's better to deal with this type of thing by yourself? Because I hate to say it, but even if you did have help,
would you be in the mind state at the time to accept help?
Can they understand where you're coming from?
That's the problem with addiction too, is that unless you want it, there's no help out there that's going to help you. You have to be in that mindset.
Yeah.
And it's actually sometimes dangerous to try to do something when you're not ready, because then you come back tenfold worse than you were.
Yeah.
But you have to want it. You have to do it for you. You can't do it for your family. You can't do it for your kids. You can't do it for your work. It has to be for you. Otherwise, you'll never get to that point.
No.
You know, you have to be selfish, and that to recover from something like that. It's an unfortunate thing to say, and it sounds really crass, but it's true. You have to be selfish.
It makes sense.
It's a fight for you to keep you sustained. You know.
Yeah, and that was the twist that I kind of struggle with, because I'm 100%. I'll be thinking right along those lines of what you're saying, but then that one point where I was completely unselfish to just letting go, right? And I don't know what would have happened if I didn't let go at that time. Would I gotten back up and went back out into the road? I don't know.
Right.
But it was for me that it was extremely hard to let go of the point that I had to just give up and stop fighting, like checking my pulse, doing all that, before I just let myself sink into the soil. And that was only for everyone else that cared about me, so that they didn't have to watch me, kill myself, like with alcohol. And that's the one thing I will say, Dennis, that you brought up is we're all gonna die either way. If you want to die being controlled and addicted to something, like it's like the worst way to die. And that was the thing that kept me through all of it.
Yeah.
Going through all this is like, if I die from this, at least I will have died sober and without alcohol, and that made me feel like I accomplished something.
Yeah.
Out of it.
And that's the Eric that I remember.
Right.
Yeah. I know earlier, he was saying as he heard your story, he felt uneasy, and Josh definitely was empathetic because he's been through similar. For me, it was listening to your story was a sadness. A missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what way?
I've known you for a long time, and I never knew.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel sadness. I'm glad you won.
Right.
I would have never doubted you for a second.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing story, man.
Yeah.
I definitely think, without a doubt, there's no UFOs in this story. There's no Bigfoots. There's no creatures. But I think the story needed to be told. And I'm glad.
I appreciate
Absolutely
the opportunity.
glad.
Yeah, it was good to let you get that. I know you said that you had trouble trying to figure out a way to get this out somehow. Like you felt that you needed to get it out. So I'm glad that we were able to help you that.
Honestly, I feel privileged.
Well, and I appreciate that. And there's always details, right, left out on something like this. And that's why you give up on trying to, like, just put it on paper or to, I don't know, eventually I think I will attempt that. But the important part about all this is that someone relates to it.
Yeah.
And if you do, then you can get all the other holes and parts that were missed if you want to talk to me. So I'm completely open to anybody contacting me.
That was actually going to be another question. If I could get an email from you, where if someone reaches out to the show, and they need help.
If someone reaches out to the show and they need help, you can give them my number, and I'll give you that. They can call me directly, text me anytime. Like, this is an agreement that I made with myself, the subconscious, the universe. Okay, that this is something that I got through that I need to help other people get through, to uphold my end of the thing, the deal, the fact that everything just can fall into place. You just need to get through the shit first. So I can help you get through the shit if you could, just by being able to have someone to level with. I think that helps out a lot, because if I had that, after all of it, I started looking through different channels, and being able to connect with someone was like, damn, I wish I would have done that while I was, going through it all. But I guess I just, you don't have times when there's
life going on.
Well, no, like the demon and shit coming out of the walls and
That was actually something from months ago. I actually was. You guys were discussing. I was trying not to be rude, but I was literally looking for my own saved research from after we talked the first time, and Hebrews had a list of demons. And the interesting one was a many-faced demon that they considered the demon of reformation.
Well, that's interesting.
And that this demon was basically kind of a free agent. He wasn't exactly... I guess he's like a disgruntled employee of hell. I don't really know all the details. I'm sure someone out there will know, and if they can chime in, that'd be awesome.
I think you just gave that thing a name. Or that's what that's just free agent. That term,
Asmodeus, keeps coming to mind, but that's probably not it. There's a lot. The list of their they have them listed, all their jobs and stuff, and I find it interesting because that one, the demon of reformation, his job is to basically torment you into doing something really bad.
Well, and I think that's very possible. And the interesting part about this is I don't think that tapping into your subconscious, looking within, that's not something that you have to do if you have an addiction. It's something that we should all do anyway. So that's where this kind of relates to everyone, is that you should be looking deeper inside your mind. Right? Because, we're just visual people, like UFOs, we have to see that, right? Well, there's a pandemic going around right now. Like if we saw a UFO and we'd all become Will Smith and we'd fight these aliens, right? But now there's a pandemic going on and we're all, we're not even banding together.
I'm going to put my mask on and then I'm going to go fight the alien.
We're just,
shooting that green shit at me.
Or COVID was the secret weapon. It's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Right.
And we just take the masks off, let the aliens land. A couple months later, they're all sick.
Isn't that the entire basis to War of Worlds?
Did it? Yeah. They got the COVIDs.
The vid. But I appreciate the opportunity, and like I said, it's some people AA and that stuff just doesn't. You have a support system, that's great. It works for a lot of people. I don't. I can't find my place in that because it's just. To me, it's an open door for failure. That's just for me. I got to do this for myself, and to do that, I don't need any. If I'm doing this for me, I don't need anybody to help me, right now. But I would like to talk to other people who are taking that same approach, because you kind of feel hopeless and getting through that stuff sometimes when you can't jump on the bandwagon of the AA thing. So
I just feel like AA is just smothering. I feel like they get too.
Sorry.
It's a cult. They just get too much with people, and I feel like it stresses people out, and then they go right back to what they were doing.
Yeah, and I really apologize. It's not when I say in a call. It is. We make it. We change everything. We all take an idea of a religion and flip flop it to benefit us. So AA to me is great for the people that it works for, and but like I said, if you find yourself in a room and everybody talking about their drinking days and laughing about it and thinking it's funny and then saying it's okay if you go out and drink, just come back to us, we'll start all over again. If you feel like that makes you uneasy, then hit me up, because I can let you know that you can definitely do it on your own if you want to.
Absolutely. You guys out there listening, if you're struggling, if you going through something just like this, reach out. Eric's put himself out there for you. He'll talk to you. You know, we'll put you in touch. If you need an ear, all of us are here.
If you're not comfortable talking to us, there are hundreds of secular and non-secular
Absolutely.
Yeah.
programs out there.
I will be digging up a major list to provide with this episode.
If you're ready and you're in the mindset and it's time to get help and you need help, get help.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the one benefit of COVID is that, you know, there's a lot of places that you can go to now that are easy to find on the internet. To have that kind of experience without putting yourself completely out there, so you can jump around and go in and out of rooms and light speed for that support. So, I mean, definitely take advantage of that opportunity.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys. Well, Eric, again, appreciate you telling this, man. Amazing. I can't. I mean, I know this. I know what the story means, and I know the hardship involved, but I always have tremendous respect for you, man. Always looked up to you, so you know, it's amazing.
Thank you.
And like I said, anybody else, man, I'd be like, I don't know, but I wouldn't have doubted you for a second that you would have come through it. I mean, that's just knowing you. You guys out there, you don't know him like I do. You know, I've known him a long time. If anybody could go to war with the demon or the devil or God or whatever, it would be this man. So it's pretty amazing. But you guys out there, hopefully you learned something here. I did. And I think we'll see you guys next week.